everyone, this is Angela Brown with the Sexy Thyroid Solution. So today I want to talk to you about intermittent fasting and the thyroid. But first, if you are new to my channel, if you could do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button and then hit the little bell right next to it, that's going to give you a notification every single Thursday when I release my video. If you are watching this on Facebook or Instagram, like my video, leave me some comments, and definitely share this with someone who you think would benefit from this information. If you are a returning subscriber, thanks again for subscribing and for tuning in again. Let's go ahead and get started on this. So first, let's talk a little bit about what intermittent fasting is. There's a lot of information about intermittent fasting, and this is one of the reasons why I'm bringing this topic up, because I'm asked about it pretty often. First of all, what are benefits of intermittent fasting? So the benefits are, it can help with weight loss, it can help with increasing insulin sensitivity, it also helps with improving your stress response. It can actually decrease oxidative stress as well as inflammation. It puts you kind of into this state called ketosis, which basically is when your body starts to use fat to help deal with stress and to help whenever you're burning off calories. So that's essentially what it does. So what is intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is basically eating within a window. So typically anything over 12 hours is considered intermittent fasting. The 16 to 8 schedule, where you're not eating for 16 hours and then you eat for 8 hours, is probably the most popular one. The timing of it is very, very dependent on the person, but that's usually what I've seen is the most popular as far as time frame goes. So what does this have to do with the thyroid? How does this affect the thyroid? So intermittent fasting involves the circadian rhythm and blood sugar balance. That's the big thing that it really essentially targets. And the thyroid really relies on this. So your circadian rhythm is like your internal clock. It keeps the body at a certain phase all throughout the day and all throughout the night. Well, your thyroid really heavily relies on this internal clock. So the problem with this is, because the thyroid is relying on this, the thyroid regulates so many things. So it regulates your hormones. It helps to influence digestion, your stress response. It influences insulin release, how you absorb some of your nutrients and your minerals, things like that. So there's a lot of things that the thyroid influences. So that's why it's really, really important, if you are doing it, that you know why you're doing it and that you're doing it the correct way. So let me ask you this. Have you ever done intermittent fasting? Whether you suffer from hypothyroidism or not, I would love to know if you've done it yourself. Leave me a comment below. I definitely would love to know if you've tried it yourself. I know I have, and I didn't do very well with it, which we're going to explain. But if you've done it, I would love to know if you've done it and what outcome you had with it. So what does the thyroid do with this? A lot of people with hypothyroidism, whether they know it or not, whether they've had a hypothyroidism diagnosis or not, they end up getting this decrease in circadian response. So they have a hard time keeping that circadian rhythm kind of balanced out. That's the hardest part with it. So because this happens, when you go do intermittent fasting, that's why the timing of it is going to be huge. What I have seen is, because the circadian rhythm is such a role in this, that when people have a slow thyroid, they actually are going to do better when they keep that eating window during the daylight hours and not shoving that eating window to like later in the afternoon and then all the way into the evening when it gets dark. And essentially that comes down to because of the circadian rhythm and how the thyroid has such an influence, and it relies so much on that circadian rhythm and your internal clock, that you actually do better with those if you are going to do intermittent fasting during those daylight hours. That's essentially what I typically would recommend if you're going to try it with hypothyroidism. The other part that I've also noticed is, if you go greater than 24 hours and you have hypothyroidism, it usually doesn't work. So most women or people with hypothyroidism, especially with Hashimoto's, which is the autoimmune side of hypothyroidism, they do not do well when they start fasting greater than 24 hours. It can really impede thyroid function, and it starts to slow it down even further. So I typically do not recommend going over 24-hour fasting, intentional or not. whenever you have a slow thyroid. The essentially, when you go these really, really long gaps without eating, it causes your blood sugar to go down. I mean, that's essentially what the whole point of intermittent fasting is. But when you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis or hypothyroidism, where you just have a slow thyroid, your blood sugar sometimes isn't really steady. So when you get this really bottomed out tank of the blood sugar from fasting for greater than 24 hours, you can really feed into your adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue is a really, really big connection with a slow thyroid. It's a really big connection. And I've talked about this before, where the two have such a massive interconnection. So why feed into that? Why add more to that? I don't typically recommend adding any more stress onto the thyroid than you already are. So let's not get that blood sugar to tank too low, because it's not going to help anything. So my own personal experience. I tried it. I hated it. I did not like it. I did, when I was doing it, just for kicks, I wanted to see what it was doing to my ketones and what it was doing to my blood sugar. So I actually had one of those ketone meters. I was using that and a blood sugar meter to see what was doing with that. And I did not do well with it. I never got into ketosis. I even went ahead and tried the 24 hours and I got really, really sick from it. So that's why I definitely do not recommend going 24-hour fasting. If you have a slow thyroid, it typically doesn't work. I never got into ketosis though. I just couldn't do it. My body just would not go into that no matter what I did. So I did not feel like it helped me at all, but that was my own personal experience with it. What I have seen with my clients that worked well was, if you do it, it has to be like I talked about. You need to eat during those daylight hours, the evening, late afternoon or evening. If you're going to start intermittent fasting, that's when you should be doing it. My own personal take is it's very, very dependent on you. So if your neighbor next door or your cousin or your sister is doing it and they're doing phenomenal with it, doesn't mean that you're going to do phenomenal with it. And that's the experience that I had. I had a lot of people around me that were doing it, and they all had thyroid issues and they all did great with it. And I did not. I did absolutely horrible. So again, just because someone had a great experience with it doesn't mean that you're going to have that same experience. So if you do try it and you feel absolutely miserable, it is not your thing. You should not be doing it, because again, it's creating more stress. Do not create more stress on your body, especially if you have a slow thyroid. You cannot create more stress on it. So don't keep trying it and sucking it up and saying, oh, it's going to get better. Just don't do it. It's just not your thing. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong. Again, I can't do it. It did not work for me. So feel it out. See what you think. Follow the guidelines, like I said. Do not try going for more than 24 hours. But you really are going to have to feel it out. If you have blood sugar handling issues where it is all over the place and it's never under control, again, probably not your thing. I would not try it. So let me know what you think. Again, if you're new here, I would absolutely love if you would go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so that you get the notification. And then again, if you're on Facebook or Instagram, like this, share it, leave me some comments. Let me know for sure. I would love to know if you tried intermittent fasting. I want to know your experience as well. So hope this video helps you, and hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye.